Hi folks, it's Marvin Music with MedicareSchool.com, and we want to welcome you to this edition of our live stream. We try to do this every Monday and every Thursday at 5 o'clock Central Time, and we're delighted to have you with us. We are going this evening to address, I think, a very, very important topic, and after I've addressed it, hopefully in a very helpful way, that we will then start taking your questions. And so if you have questions related to anything Medicare, as well as Social Security, I'd be happy to field any of those questions. A lot of you have questions about your specific situation. And sometimes it's difficult to get a straight and accurate answer. And so that's really why we host these programs twice a week, and in the future, maybe even more often. But if you have questions, then I'm delighted to talk about the timing of your decisions, about the different ramifications, and just different things that are going on. A lot of people can't always find someone to help them as it relates to making the right Medicare decisions about should you stay on a work plan or come off of that. What if you're planning to retire in the future? Those kind of aspects. I'm happy to talk about any of those and all those tonight. And so if you want to start putting the questions in the chat, you can. Daniel Brooks, who is our producer, is with me tonight, so he'll be giving those questions to me here in just a couple minutes. One clarification for me: please be sure, folks, that you're not so abbreviated with your question that I cannot understand or we can't understand what you're asking. We want to help you, but sometimes we can't understand the question, so make sure it's very clear as to how we can help this evening. All right, so two things. Number one, if you're joining us through YouTube and you're not a subscriber, please be a subscriber. There's no cost, no obligation, clearly. We just like people to be subscribers because every time we put out new content, which is often, usually a couple times a week, then you're notified about that content so you can stay up to date with everything Medicare as well as Social Security. And then if you're not a part of our Facebook, please join in. It's grown. I think we have probably 60,000 or so on Facebook. And really the benefit of that is not only do you get to weigh in about what your experiences have been with Medicare, but also others that have shared things that they've experienced. So it's really a great way to learn and stay in tune with all things Medicare. All right, so let's get started. Tonight we're going to talk about this title. 99% of our clients chose to stay on supplemental plans, and this is why. Okay, and I'm going to give you a very, really a very brief answer for why people that are on Medicare have chosen to be on supplemental plans and why they stay on those. And that is this reason: because they look beyond the premium. Because they look beyond the premium. When people just look at the monthly premium, what will this cost me on a monthly basis, then they're almost always going to lean towards Medicare Advantage plans. Now listen, some people, they need to be on Advantage plans because they could not afford, or maybe they don't want to afford in their budget, a Medicare Supplemental plan. Medicare Supplemental plans are not crazy high, but there is a premium. And so when people make this decision to go on Medicare or switch plans, those who decide to go on Medicare supplemental plans rarely come off of them unless something were to change within their budget. Something happened to them financially and they just say, I simply cannot afford a Medicare supplemental plan, or I don't want to afford it. Well, then that's when you are very wise then to get a Medicare Advantage plan. But those who stay on supplemental plans do so because they're not just looking at that monthly premium. They understand that by paying a monthly premium, they're getting a tremendous amount of benefits. Number one is this, folks. Do you realize that when you're on a supplemental plan that you will not have to deal with network issues at all? Okay, when you're on a Advantage plan, you're always going to be dealing with networks. It could be an HMO network, it could be an HMO POS network, it could be a PPO network, but because we mentioned the name network, that just lets you know that it is not unlimited. When you're on a supplemental plan, it is truly unlimited provider choices. Why is that? Well, because 100% of all hospitals will take Medicare supplemental plans because they take original Medicare, and 99% of all, now listen to this, 99% of all non-pediatric doctors take Medicare. Pediatricians don't need to take Medicare. They're treating young people, right? But 99% of all non-pediatric doctors are going to take original Medicare. Therefore, they will take your supplemental plan. And so again, why do people pay a premium and stay on those plans and continue to pay a premium? Because they like the benefit of not having an insurance company choose their providers, not having the restrictions of being in a network. In fact, you realize, folks, if you're on an HMO plan, which many of them are today, you cannot go out of your network at all and expect the insurance company to pay unless it's in an urgent care situation or an emergency situation. Otherwise, you must stay in your network. Now, PPO plans allow you to go out of the network. That's one of the distinctions of a PPO plan. But the problem is it costs you about twice as much to do so. You're maxed out of pocket on a PPO network, a PPO plan in network, maybe $4,000 or $5,000. Go out on a network, could be $9,000 or $10,000 very, very easily. But when you're dealing with a supplemental plan, you don't have a network. You can go to any provider that takes original Medicare. And so that's why they stay on them. They like the benefit, really, of being able to choose from unlimited providers. The second reason that they pay a premium and stay on those plans is because they like the fact that it is not even possible. I mean, folks, not even possible for a supplemental insurance company to impose upon you a pre-authorization right. Okay, pre-authorization simply means that you need a healthcare service, but attached to that healthcare service before you ever get that, the insurance company has the final say-so. Pre-authorizations right now with Advantage plans happen about 27% of the time. A Medicare supplemental plan will never have a pre-authorization. If Medicare agrees to cover something and your doctor says you need that service, then that's the end of the story. You can go get that knee replacement, that hip replacement, that MRI, that CAT scan, that extended skilled nursing stay, whatever it is, that insurance company can never run any interference. They have no right to delay. They have no right to deny because they have no say-so whatsoever. They absolutely will follow Medicare. Now, it is true that Medicare does have a couple of dozen pre-authorizations. They do. And so when that happens, of course, then that's between Medicare and your doctor. But the supplemental plan will pay as long as Medicare is going to pay. When it comes to a comparison between supplemental plans and Advantage plans are going to have hundreds and hundreds of pre-authorizations within their system. And I've had plenty of clients who needed a knee replacement, but the Advantage plan, because they had pre-authorization rights, said, no, you're not going to get that now. You're going to therapy for 9 months, and then we'll see if you need the knee replacement. I've had plenty who have needed full hip replacements, and the insurance company said, no, you don't need a full hip. We don't agree with the doctor. We're going to practice medicine here, and we're going to tell you that we will pay for a rod and a rod only. And there's somebody that sits in a cubicle who does not have a license to practice medicine, and yet they can interfere with what that doctor is suggesting. And that's exactly what happens on Medicare Advantage plans. Now, does that happen every time? No. There's many times that they're going to approve those services, but many times they do not. And when that happens to you, it's a big deal. And so my whole point is that's why people stay on supplemental plans, because they don't want to go through the hassles of pre-authorization. And then thirdly, it's because when you have a supplemental plan, you can never lose that type of coverage. Right now, most people today are getting G plans or N plans. They are both wonderful choices. A G plan is the most comprehensive plan today, and the N plan is a very, very close second. And so if you have a G plan that you buy, let's say this year, 2025, as long as you pay your premium, that G plan can never change at all. Now, the premium's going to change for sure. Those go up, everything goes up. But the coverage itself, that G plan, will continue for the rest of your life to cover every single Medicare gap except for the Part B deductible. That Part B deductible this year is $257. That means that someone that has a G plan, they pay their premium for the G plan, but out of pocket after that, as long as they see a Medicare provider and they're getting a service covered by Medicare, they will not spend this year any more than $257. That B deductible resets every January. Next year, we know it's going to $283. So next year, anyone on a G plan, again, as long as they go to Medicare provider, service covered by Medicare, they'll spend $283 out of their pocket, and that's absolutely it. I don't care if the bill's $100,000 or if it's $1 million. When you have that plan, the coverage will never change your whole life. If you're an in plan, covers everything except for the B deductible and the excess charges if and when those occur. Excess charges are when a doctor adds 15% to the bill, and the N also has 2 copayments that G does not have, and that is go to the doctor, costs you $20, go to the emergency room, costs you $50. Now, right now, statistically, about 60% of all people get Gs, 40% of people get Ns, and my opinion is they're wonderful. And those that get an N plan are saving about, on average, about $50 to $60 a month, sometimes even more than than that. And so because the risk of excess is very, very low, and most people aren't going to the doctor a couple times a month, people who are looking for a more budget-friendly option today are going with implants. And folks, it's a great decision either way. In fact, some states, the difference between G and N could be $70, maybe even more than that. And so my point is that when we enroll into that supplemental plan, it is a lifetime policy. The terms of that can never change other than the premium. It's also a policy, not only it's lifetime, it's universal throughout the country. I don't care if you live in Tampa Bay, Florida, and you are in vacation in Anchorage, Alaska. You pull out your A and B card and your supplemental card, and the people in Anchorage know exactly how to deal with that system. You pull out an Advantage card, not so, okay? You could definitely have some problems. So it's a universal plan because it covers every state in the country. Everyone knows how that system works. A lot of Advantage plans are local regional plans, and you have a problem outside the network, you could run into some difficulties, okay? So they're permanent plans. They're also portable. What does that mean? Well, that means, like right now, I live in Missouri. I plan to live here for a long time, but let's say I decide to retire and move to Dallas, Texas. I will keep my supplemental plan, and I'll take it with me to Dallas, Texas. Regardless of my health conditions, regardless of my age, regardless of where I live, it truly is a permanent policy. Not so with Advantage. Advantage plans are not tied to you. They're tied to a service area, which is typically a metro area or maybe a multi-county area. But if you leave that state, usually half of the state, when you move away, you are not going to take that Advantage plan with you. You're going to have to get a new plan, new doctors, new networks, new hospitals, and you have to change those plans. Now, they make provision for that. You can do that, no problem. But the issue is you're not taking your old Advantage plan with you, and hopefully you'll move to an area where you can find a plan that is going to meet your needs. And one of the other things about this, and I'll be quiet and we'll start taking questions, is you think about this, folks. This year, there were over 2 million people that had their Medicare Advantage plan terminated. There was no one that was on a supplemental plan that had their plan terminated. Why? Because they can't. As long as you pay the premium, it is yours for life. Over 2 million people lost their Advantage plans this year because the insurance company said this: we're not making enough money off this plan. This area is not populated enough. It's not sufficient enough for us to make a profit. There's too much competition here for a variety of reasons. And they pulled those plans, and every single one of those people had to go out and get different insurance and go through the hassle of trying to find new doctors and new hospitals and set up their plans on a new network. You would never experience that with a supplemental plan. And that's why we're saying 99% of our clients stayed on those plans. Why? Because they looked at some of the aspects. They cared about how their insurance is going to work. Get this. Effective January 1, 2026, Mayo Clinic will not take any Advantage plans. In the past, they've taken a few, but now they're done. They're tired of Advantage plans. They are low pay and they are slow pay as a general rule, and they'll fight hospitals even when they've done a pre-authorization approval. Sometimes they come back and fight them again. And again, these insurance companies have abused that pre-authorization system, and there's hospital groups that say, we're not going to take them anymore. Get this. In my city of Kansas City, we have one hospital in the city that will take one Advantage plan. Out of many in the city, they'll take one and only one. That's it. Because they just don't want to work with the others because they've had such a bad experience. Now listen, some of you that are watching this, you're on Advantage plans. You're thinking, well, it's worked great for me. You know what? I am glad it's worked great for you, and I hope it continues to work great for you. But there's plenty of terrible, horrendous stories of people that it did not work so well. And I'm in the business day in and day out, and so I hear those stories, and it's sad when people are not getting the service they want because that insurance company says, no, we're not going to cover that. You're in a skilled nursing facility, you're done after 17 days. I don't care what the doctor says. And those kind of things happen every single day. And our clients have been educated so they understand exactly what they're getting. Okay? So the point is this: if you go on a plan, whatever you do, then you need to know exactly how that's going to work. And that's why people select the plans, because they understand, hey, this is how my insurance works if I get cancer. This is what's going to happen if I need a knee replacement or hip replacement. So don't just look at the premium. Look at how the insurance is going to work, because you never know how good your insurance is until you need it. All right, so enough of that. I hope this is helpful. I'll take questions, and those of you on Advantage plans, you can beat me up a little bit if you want to as well. I'm fine by that. I understand. All right, so Daniel, let's start taking questions and see if we can provide some help. All righty, let's see, joined Cigna Plan G and went to doctor and was charged by doctor's office for a portion of the bill. Is there a waiting period? I had ACA up until I picked up Medicare and Plan G. Okay, so first off, anyone who is on a supplemental plan, folks, never write a check at the doctor's office or the hospital. That you do not do that. Now, you have to do that on Advantage plans, but not at all when it comes to supplemental plans. So you never pay at point of service. You give them your cards, your A and B card, you give them your supplemental card, and what's going to happen, that provider is going to file that claim with Medicare. In fact, they can't even bill you until Medicare's paid, just so you know. But anyways, so they're going to file a claim with Medicare. Once Medicare is paid, they'll take the balance of that, and they will send the balance of the bill over to your supplemental company. Now, let's suppose you're on a G or an N. You have to meet a B deductible. This year, that's $257. So what Medicare is going to do, if it's the very first claim, let's say it's a $100 doctor bill, and you have not yet met your deductible, Medicare is going to take that claim, and they're going to send that over to your supplemental company, and they're not going to cover it either. They're going to notify the doctor that that is being applied to the deductible. So you would pay that full $100. So in my opinion, I think that's probably what happened here. That you have not yet met your deductible, because if you've met your deductible and you're on a G plan, you should not see another bill. Now, if you're on an N plan and you've met your deductible, you could see a doctor bill up to $20. So when you talk about being charged for a portion, it could have been that. Either it's applied to the deductible, or you've met it and you're on an N plan and you have to pay the copay. Okay, and there is no waiting period, folks, at all. So you don't have to worry about that. So ACA up until I picked up Medicare and Plan G. Okay, so yeah, there's no waiting period at all when it comes to Medicare. All right, let's keep going, Daniel. All righty, what is expected of the name change from Cigna to HealthSpring? Nothing at all. Let me give you a little backstory on this. What happened was Cigna was bought by a company called Healthcare Service Corporation, HCSC, very large company in the insurance business, health insurance, and they acquired Cigna earlier this year. I think it was March or April they closed, and the purchase was a little over $3 billion, so it was a huge acquisition. And so what happened was, prior to them HCSC buying them, Cigna had two brands. They were called Cigna, or they were called Cigna HealthSpring with some of their products. So when HCSC decided to buy them, what they did is they went ahead and rebranded everything Cigna to HealthSpring. So that's the only difference, just a name change, nothing other than that. I think they're still a very good option. I know people internally that work for Cigna that's told me they think it's a very good purchase, and they're thrilled to work for this new company. So I don't think there's going to be any issue. And now right now they are writing a tremendous amount of business. They're very, very competitive in markets, so they're a little bit slower right now than we'd like, but it's still, yeah, there's nothing that should be hindering someone at all to staying on HealthSpring or to going to them if they're going to be competitive in your particular market. All right, great question though. Let's keep going, Daniel. All right, assuming that people of the same age and sex are on Plan G, do they pay the same premium, or is it dependent upon each individual's medical situation? My premium is going up 25%. No. So let's talk about this, folks. We have two types of rates. We have initial rates, and then we have ongoing rates. So when it comes to initial rates, in the majority of states, not all, but in the majority of states, the age you are when you go on that plan is going to matter. That would matter on attained age policies and issue age policies, which is normally all the states. I think that'd be 42 states. But there are 8 states, if my memory serves me correct, and that is that they have community rated, and then everybody in that area, that community, based upon zip code or county, regardless of age or regardless of gender, everyone gets the same price. That's why those premiums are very high. The 85-year-old gets a bargain, the 65-year-old pays a whole lot more. That's community rated, but again, there's only like 8 states that do that. Most of those are going to be in the north and the northeast. But the other states, what matters, when I start my policy, my age matters, and then usually my gender matters. Okay, sometimes not, but usually it does. So a female turning 65 is going to pay less than a male turning 65 in most markets. Some it's the same, but usually there's going to be a little bit of a difference. But here's what I want you to realize. Your medical situation has nothing at all to do with your premium. Now, there is an exception, but what I'm saying, when you first go on Medicare and your plan comes up for renewal year to year to year, your medical situation, medical claims have nothing at all to do with your premium. Now, let's suppose though that you're switching MedSup plans and you have to go through medical underwriting. because remember, when you first go on Medicare, your B date, we have 6 months of the B date where we don't have to go through underwriting. Regardless of health conditions, the insurance company must cover you fully. Okay, that's 6 months of the B date. That B date is so critical. And so what happens, though, if I ever want to switch a plan in most states, then I do have to go through medical underwriting. And that means that as agents, we have to ask you 35 or 40 health questions. We have to record your medications, and all the information then is given to the insurance company. So here's what happens. Let's say we're in a market and we have 10 different supplemental companies that offer plans. 8 of the 10, if they see anything in those health questions or your medical records, including medications, that they don't like, then they can deny the application. Okay, they'll flat deny it. So let's say you have AFib and you're being treated with Xarelto or Eliquis. You're probably going to be denied. Let's say you have arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or psoriatic arthritis. Probably going to be declined. Let's say you have spinal stenosis or maybe osteoporosis with fractures. Those kind of things, they're denied. You're in the midst of cancer treatment. You're going to be denied. The point is there's health conditions where you're going to be denied by all the companies. But let's say that you're taking a medication that you're being treated for pain. Maybe it's gabapentin or something. And we may have a carrier that says, no, we're not going to approve a policy with gabapentin. And some other carriers say, well, obviously you have some kind of a nerve damage, but that's the only issue you have going on with your health. They may approve the policy, but they'll do so at a higher premium. Okay, so initially, everyone's going to get the same premium based upon their age, their gender, and all that stuff, of course. But when it comes to health conditions, it's only those that are switching plans. So the insurance carrier usually will say, we're going to deny you. But we have 2 carriers that say, no, we'll still approve the policy. You have one health condition. We'll take that, but you're going to pay a higher premium for it. Okay, that would be the only instance where a medical situation would come into play. And by the way, your premium going up 25% in 2026. I hate that. I really do. But I will tell you, it is not uncommon. We've seen many of them around that 15 to 20, 25%. Hopefully this will stable out as we move forward, and get this inflation under control. But that's really part of the reason. There's been a tremendous amount of medical inflation, and we're seeing that reflected in premium increases this year. All right, let's go on, Daniel. All right, I plan to retire when I'm 67, which is my full retirement age, in March of 2027. Good. When do I apply for Social Security, and how would I do my Medicare and supplement? All right, so if you're going to retire at the same time, what you can do is this. You just back up the clock, very simple, 4 months. So let's say that your full retirement age is March of 2027. And so let's back the clock up February, January, December, and then November. So this would be November of 2026. You can now apply for your Social Security benefits. Now you can apply anytime between that date of November up to March, but I would do it as early as 4 months. You can do it 2 or 3 months, but the point is that system opens up for you right around 4 months prior to when you want your benefits to begin. All right. So once you've done that and you're applying for Social Security, they are also going to ask you about your Medicare, and so they'll say, do you want to start your Medicare Part B? Because anytime you're applying for Social Security, you're going to be automatically enrolled into Medicare A if you're above 65. And so you're applying for your Social Security benefits 4 months in advance. And then when you come to the question, they'll say, do you want to take Part B? And you're going to say yes. And then what would happen is you would let them know in the comments section when it is that you want to start your Part B benefits. And so you would just tell them, I want to start my Part B benefits April 1. And then in this instance, what happens, you're now coming into Medicare and you qualify to enroll with no penalties and no problems using what we call an SEP enrollment, special enrollment period. That's how you come into Medicare after 65. And so what's required with an SEP enrollment are 2 documents. One is called an L564. L564, that's the proof that you've been working or your spouse was and that you've been covered by a work plan back to 65. The L564 is given to your HR department. They complete it. And then you have one other form called the CMS 40B. And this is a form that is used to let Medicare know when you want to start your Medicare. And so on that form of 40B, you would say, please begin my Medicare, either March 1 or April 1, whatever. If your group plan is going to carry you through the end of March, then I would start my Medicare Medicare be for one. And you must put that on the form, and you must also put it in the notes section when you apply for Social Security. And that's the way that would be handled. That's called a special enrollment period. And at the same time you're doing all that now, you can call us or whoever you're going to use. And remember, folks, when you use a broker, you don't pay extra money. Our services are truly free to you. There's nothing extra you have to pay. And so call us or someone, and we can enroll you into a Medicare Supplemental plan, usually 3 to 6 months in advance in most states. And then we can also help you select a drug plan. All right, and so your perfect timing is to start this process after November 1, December 1 would be fine as well. So we're coming in and applying for Social Security for our benefits to begin at your full retirement age of March. So what you're going to do when you're applying for Social Security, there will be a schedule of months. They'll say, when do you want to start your benefits? And you're going to click on the button March 2027 so that you don't have to take any kind of reduction to your Social Security, and then your first check will be issued and deposited in a bank account for you April. And the way they're deposited is this. If I'm born in the first 10 days of the month, my check is deposited, Social Security check is deposited on the second Wednesday. If I'm born in the next 10 days, 11th to the 20th, it's by the third Wednesday. And then the 21st to the end of the month, it'd be deposited no later than the fourth Wednesday. All right, so everyone gets paid based upon their birthday. First 10 days, second Wednesday, next 10 days, third Wednesday, last 10 day, fourth Wednesday. All right, very good. Let's keep going, Daniel. All righty. Hello there, Mr. Greg. Good to have you chiming in tonight. My present drug shows I can get a zero premium standalone drug plan for 2026. But should I upgrade to a $20 plan in case I might be prescribed some more drug during year 2026? I would not, William, at all. If your number one plan that is showing up for you in the Medicare.gov system is a zero premium, that's what I enroll in. And the reason for that is because just because you pay $20, it doesn't mean that you're getting a broader formulary. Now, and by the way, if the zero one is saying all your meds are covered, to me that would be sufficient. Okay, but the difference in formulary between a $0 to $20 is going to be probably very minimal. Now, if you had a premium, a plan that was going to be maybe $50 or $60, then I would say that's probably a broader formulary. Still wouldn't enroll in that plan at all, because remember something, even though you take a zero premium plan, probably has 2,500 meds to choose from, and if you have a medication that is not in formulary, you can always ask for a formulary exception. Your doctor does, or you can, and you'll oftentimes see that plan will add a medication to your formulary for that plan year. So I would take the zero plan for sure. All right, good question. Thank you, sir. Let's keep going. All righty. I started listening to Marvin early 2024. I switched from Advantage to Medicare with G and D when I saw the direction Advantage was going. Thank you for making me an informed consumer. Well, thank you. It's our privilege to educate people, and I think you made a good move. I think people that can afford a MedSup premium ought to be on a MedSup plan. Those who can't shouldn't, for sure. We got to live within our means, but I think that was a great decision. All right. Thanks for the encouragement as well. Let's keep going. All right. What can we expect from the in-network trial plan for original Medicare in 5 to 6 states? Okay. Well, here's what you can expect. And by the way, you can, chat GPT this, try to Google this or whatever, and look at the different services that have now been added to the pre-authorization list within Medicare. Okay, now prior to this, I just want to make everyone clear. Prior to this new list that's coming out effective January 1, 2026, I think there were about 12 different procedures that had pre-authorization, 12 of them. That was it. And folks, just so you know, there's 7,000 Medicare codes, 7,000. Okay, so there were 12 procedures that had pre-authorizations effective January 1, 2026. It's called the WISER model, W-I-S-E-R model. Effective January 1, they've added 19 new procedures to that list. That's all. And just so you also know, those 12 that existed and the new 19, all of those are already a pre-authorization on Medicare Advantage plans, okay? And so some people are making a real big deal of this. They're worried about this, folks. It is a small percentage still of any pre-authorization in the Medicare system. And also, get this. You realize that even if those services have a pre-authorization, that your doctor does not even have to get it and can still get paid, but they will have to prove why they did that service in order, of course, to get paid. But if it's justifiable, that doctor didn't have to do the pre-authorization at all. I promise you they don't. So again, let's talk about how will that, what you should expect? Nothing. Look at the list. Most of those things, those 19 they added and the other 12 that were in there, you look at them and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. These are some very expensive procedures. And when DOJ, the Department of Government, was fraud, waste, and abuse, when they started looking at all the Medicare claims, they realized that there were providers that were abusing the system. I mean, for millions and millions of dollars. And now they're saying, hey, we're still going to cover that. But you proved to us that that's something you really do, that you do need, okay? And so they're just saying we're tired of the abuse. And by the way, they're doing that for us, so that there's so much fraud that occurs in Medicare, and all they're doing is simply saying, hey, these things have been abused. Let's add them to the list. Let's make sure they truly are needed, okay? So that's what you should expect. No big deal. And for those of you that don't even know what I'm talking about, this is a trial program. They added a few pre-authorizations within Medicare, and it's 6 states. I think it's a 5 or 6 year program. Okay, so no big deal in my opinion. Truly, it's not. Let's keep going. All right, thank you, Marvin, for all the great info. I live in Kentucky, birthday rule state, like to like, good. Do you see any disadvantages to maybe switching Plan G providers every couple of years, lower premium? Not at all. No way. In fact, here's my view. If I could save $5 or $10, probably not going to go with the hassle of switching my supplemental plan. But if I can save $20, $25 or plus, I definitely would do that. So there's no problem whatsoever. Now let's educate people just a little bit. So those of you who are not familiar with this, what we're saying in a birthday rule state, and there are about a dozen of them. Let me rattle off a few. I may miss one or two. I hope not. But California, Oregon, Washington is not exactly a birthday rule state, but they do have a rule very similar. Idaho, Nevada, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, Rhode Island, and I think soon to be Minnesota. Okay, so I think I rattled them all off. Now, by the way, those of you in Missouri, it's not birthday rule, it's called anniversary rule. So the anniversary rule tied to the anniversary of the policy. But all the other states, when we talk about the birthday rule, what we mean is that state has said that if you're on a plan, let's use G. You're on a plan G, and like this person is saying in Kentucky, like to like, they can, around their birthday, and I'm not sure exactly how Kentucky works it, but it's usually about 30 days before your birthday and 30 days after your birthday, or maybe birthday for the next 60 days. It varies. But during this period of time, you can move your supplemental company, and sometimes even plan. Now, this one you can't. Kentucky, it looks like to like. So someone in Kentucky on a G plan during their birthday, give or take around that birthday period of time, they can move to a different supplemental company, stick with another, and get another G plan if they can save money. And I would do that if I could save $20, $25 for sure. Okay? Now, some states, it's not only like to like, it's like to less. So you can move G to G in some states plus G to N. So you can step down in coverage as well. Just remember, even a birthday rule state, you can never go up. You could move from an N to a G without underwriting. Now, the other states that don't have birthday rules, which is still the majority of them, you would have to go through medical underwriting to qualify to get a supplemental plan. And again, if you're healthy and you even live in a birthday rule state, you don't have to wait till your birthday to do it. If you're healthy, go through underwriting and make a switch. All right, if you need help with any of that, just give us a call. We'd be delighted to help you. Hey, let me give you something real quickly. Daniel, let's put up a website that we own, folks. This would be a very good tool for those of you who are just curious about rates. You don't have to talk to an agent. There it is, medigapcompare.com. We own this site. This is our site. And so we put this together because we know sometimes people just want to see what rates are. Well, I have to call an 800 number, or even call us and ask for quotes. You can go to medigapcompare.com. Now, listen, there's no private information shared there. We don't even know your name, and it doesn't matter. This is a tool for you to look at rates in your market. But I want to explain how it works. In this site, this program, there could be 10, 12 different insurance companies. But when you look at the rates, not all of them are going to be listed. What this program does, it takes the lowest 3 carriers offering your G plan or your N plan or F plan, whatever you're on, and that's what it's going to show you. The others are not on there because they're higher. You're not going to move to a higher plan, so we just simply have this design and program to give you the lowest 3 carriers that are going to be in your market. And if something's lower, $20, $30, whatever, just push on the button, and you can actually apply. And you can answer the health questions, you can go through the process, and then what happens in that system then will allow you to set an appointment up because we have to finalize it. It takes, I think, about 10 minutes once you've gone through the health questions, and we actually will accommodate this and make sure you're still, you understand what you have to do and all those kind of things. So there's agent involvement, but I think the average agent involvement is like 10 minutes. So very simple. So go to that site, and you can kind of see where rates are in your market. All right, let's keep going. Alrighty, do Medigap plans cover cancer? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so now if someone is on, let's say someone's on an Advantage plan and they want to switch to a Medigap supplemental plan. In most situations, folks, to move off of Medicare Advantage and move to a Med Sup plan, you have to medically qualify. So if someone is in the midst of cancer treatment and want to make a switch to a Medigap policy, unless you live in New York, Connecticut, or Massachusetts, you're not going to be able to make that switch. And I know you didn't ask that question, but I wanted to clarify that. But the question about covering cancer, absolutely. Here's the way it's going to work. Your Medicare A and B is going to pay first. A pays all your inpatient stuff. B pays all the doctors and outpatient stuff. Okay? And so because Medicare doesn't cover anything 100%, there's always a balance to the bill, whether that's a deductible, whether that's a copay, whether that's coinsurance, excess charges. Medicare has a variety of gaps, things you're liable for. And so you buy a Medigap policy to fill in those gaps. If you want the most comprehensive, get a G. If you still want a very, very good plan, a little bit less money though, then get an N plan. It's still an excellent choice. Okay? So yes, they do, and they cover quite well. And the beautiful thing about Medigaps with cancer is you can go anywhere you want to go. You just can't. Hey, let me tell you this quick story. This just happened to my neighbor. My neighbor, about I think he's 72, something like that. Just a great guy in great shape, just wonderful man. But he started passing out. Was having some seizures, different little mini seizures things, and it went on for about 6 or 9 months. And he went to a local neurologist, his primary care doctor, all kinds of docs. No one could find out what was wrong with him. He said, "I'm fed up with this. I'm going to go to Mayo Clinic." He was at Mayo Clinic, I think 2 days, maybe 3 days, and they said, "This is what's wrong." He was actually taking a medication that over time your body no longer can not assimilate it, digest it, but it can absorb it. And so because of that, it was causing him to have these little seizures and causing him to pass out. Who found that? Mayo Clinic. Couldn't find it locally, so he goes to Mayo. Listen, if he was on an Advantage plan, he would not be able to do that, okay? Effective 1/1 of this year, because they're not going to take him anymore. And so again, another one of the benefits, if you have serious cancer, you want to go to MD Anderson or some of these other specialty cancer centers, it'd be great to have a supplemental plan for your coverage. All right, next. All right, if I've been on HSA up to time, I take Medicare and over 65, how can I clear those funds out without having a penalty? Okay, 6 months HSA. So you've been on, and you want to clear those funds out. Okay, well, here's what happens. The only way to clear them out without a penalty, here's my problem. I hope we're not talking about you have overfunded it. Okay, so let's address that. Just in case you mean you've been putting money in and you overfunded it. So what you do then is you tell your accountant you put more money in than you should have, and you just simply pay the taxes on that. And then because that money went in pre-tax, but it shouldn't have, so you need to pay the taxes on the money that was overfunded, and then there's no issue. So that could be one thing you're asking. The other thing you could be asking about using it. So here's the way it works. You can clear out the funds in an HSA without any kind of penalty after 65, and you can actually use those for any purpose whatsoever. But if it's not qualified medical expenses, you'll have to pay the taxes on those withdrawals. So if you want to clear them out without any taxes, it's got to go to qualified medical expenses. And there's a whole host of those, everything but basically supplemental plan premiums. But if you want to pull them out and clear it out and not spend it on qualified medical expenses, just pay the taxes that are due on it. There's no penalty when you do that after 65. All right, let's keep going. Are all Sub-G plans the same? How do they differ? Okay, the only way they differ, Sharon, is in premium. That's it. So what we care about is initial premium and the stability of the rates of the company that you choose. And what we try to do when we can, most companies report, we like to look back at the history of price increases, maybe 3 to 5, 7 years, maybe even 10 years back, to see how the company has performed. So we call that rate stability. And none of us can guarantee rate stability. We don't have a crystal ball, but we care about that, and we can actually look at that. So the way they differ is initial premium and then rate stability. Everything else is the same. So if you get a G plan from, let's say, United Healthcare, you get a G plan from Aetna, or you get one from Mutual of Omaha, or you get one from Cigna HealthSpring, whoever, it doesn't matter. Your G plan, all those carriers will pay the same bills, the same type of bills, and the same amount of bills. There is truly no difference. And the reason for that is because in 1992, Medicare decided they were going to standardize Medicare supplemental plans. That's when it began. Prior to that, there were hundreds and hundreds of different options, but it was too confusing and probably fraud going on too. So in 1992, they said, no, we're going to standardize the plans, we're going to give them letters, and anyone who buys a G plan, no matter who they buy it from, the coverage will be the same. You buy an N plan, no matter who you buy it from, again, the coverage is going to be the same. You don't have to worry about what bills are paid or type or amount at all. You just have to be concerned about premium and stability of rates. All right, who's next? Start Medicare February 2026. How do I find out if an insurance company updates their rates once or twice per year? Okay. Well, you can find out by asking someone like us. So let me just kind of tell you the way this works. The majority of carriers are going to, once you apply, let's say you start February 26, your birthday is February 1961. The carrier that you select is almost always going to lock the rate in for one full 12-month period. So if you start February 1 of 2026, then what will happen is they'll notify you of the price increase about 60 days before that. So now we're looking at December of 2026. They'll let you know what your rate is going to be for 2027. Again, 30 to 60 day window. They'll notify you of price increases. Now, there's one carrier that does things differently, and that is United Healthcare. Now, what I want you to first off realize that when it comes to United Healthcare, their overall price increase is really the same as other carriers would be, but they break their price increase up in 2 times. So they split it up. So truly, it equals just 1 as compared to other carriers, but it's 2 times. So the reason for that is because anytime you do business with United Healthcare, what they do is they take the rate of an 85-year-old and they discount that rate all the way down to the age that you're going to start Medicare, which is usually 65, 66, 67. But they discount that down. That is called an enrollment discount. So they apply this enrollment discount. That's usually about 39 to maybe 42%. And then once you've reached 68 and beyond, every year they start removing that enrollment discount by 3%. So let's say it started off at 39%, you went on at 65, and now you're 68, and now they're going to bump that up. That 39% becomes a 36% discount. And then you're now 69, and now it's going to be 33%. So you see the point. Every year they remove it by 3%, all the way up to 85. And so what happens is people that are on United Healthcare, they see that enrollment discount going away at the policy anniversary. Okay, and then whenever there's a group increase, and just so you know, all insurance companies take group increases. They all do, whether it's issue age, attained age, or community rated. They all take group increases. And the reason for that is because they get to. Oh, well, why do they get to take a group increase? Well, because they'll be losing money if they don't get to take group increases. So the way this works, folks, is when you buy an insurance policy, Medigap policy, you're going into a group. And that group could have 5,000, it could have 50,000 people in it. And so you're paying your money into the group, and then the insurance company pays money out, claims. So premium goes in, claims go out. So whenever premiums exceed claims, what happens is now the insurance company is losing money and they have the right to raise the whole group up. And that's going to happen. And so what happens when there is ever a group increase within United Healthcare blocks of business, they take those around April, May of every year. So we lost our enrollment discount, 3 percentage points, at the anniversary of our policy, but then we may see a group increase in April or May. So yeah, it's 2 increases, but I'm saying net effect is still just 1 as you compare it to what the other companies will do, because those other companies are going to raise your rate usually at your birthday and then also take a group increase at the anniversary of your policy. Okay, so you asked the question, how do you find out? I just told you. United Healthcare is going to do it twice, almost everyone else. It's going to be once a year at the anniversary of your policy. All right, keep going. Sorry about that. I rambled off on that too long. All right, 95 years old, always been on supplement C. Okay, good, which covers everything, but the premiums are now over $500 a month, plus $128 for drug coverage. Okay, can I get another supplemental underwritten? You can. I tell you what, Daniel, is there any way we can capture enough information here so I could follow up with this person? Any way to do that at all? Okay, and I'm sorry, I guess we can't do that live. Okay, what I would do, of course, if you can get through underwriting, boy, that's a tough one. Well, okay, let me think a little bit more while I'm talking. Okay, so this drug coverage, your drug plan probably went up the full $50. So what I would do, if you have maybe you're good with computers, or you have a grandchild or somebody or child that can do it, is I would go to Medicare.gov, and that really is the one and only resource that all of us have to go to today. And what you can do is you can look at plans in your area. Now, what I would do, I would take the time to go ahead and create an account so that everything you put in there can be stored, and even the meds that you're on then will also come up. And so you update your meds, give that system some pharmacy choices. It'll shop all those plans. It'll show you exactly what you're on now. It'll show you what that plan looks like in 2026. And then you want to find other plans. It'll show you everything else in your market. And the number one plan for you, other than the one you're on, it'll show up. It'll show you what your annual costs are. So that's the way you do that. It's Medicare.gov. Now, as far as your supplemental plan, what I would do, and I would love to help you, but apparently we can't capture any information here. What I would do is, if you can find someone to help you, I would probably, I don't know where you live, but I think a good option may be to call. There's a company called Medico Wellaby. Their rates are very competitive across the country right now. The company, of course, Cigna, which is HealthSpring, very competitive right now. Aflac and Aetna, competitive in some different markets. So just pick a couple different companies and find a local agent. Well, a local agent probably not going to help you, and it's sad, but I'm going to tell you why. Because once someone reaches 85, agents are not compensated, so no one's really going to want to help you. But if you call the carrier direct, again, Aflac, Aetna, Cigna, Mutual of Omaha, United Healthcare may be a little bit high, I'm not sure, but you can call a few and tell them your situation, and that phone rep can take all your information over the phone and they'll give you the rate. But you need to get on something else. If you live in a birthday rule state, you can move to another C plan. There's not very many companies that offer C plans. They offer Advantage plans, but Med Sup Cs are pretty non-existent, but they can still offer you what would be called an F plan. So that's what you need to do. I wish I could help you personally, but you can always. Hey, I'll tell you what you can do. Call our office. Here's what I want you to do. Call our office, and you ask for Christine. Okay, and they'll transfer you to Christine. We only have one Christine, and then you tell Christine that Marvin said that he would help you, and I will. Okay, because I know it's tough, and so let me know, and I'll help you. Okay. Don't know why I'm getting emotional about that. Anyway, but you're in a bind, and I think I can help you personally. But tell Christina, she'll give you the number, your phone number, and all that, and then I'll follow up with you. We'll take care of you. Okay, wow. Why do people lose Advantage plans? Well, they lose them because they're in a market that the company was not making money. That's what happens. So prior to this year, folks, the name of the game for these insurance companies was just write all plans and accumulate as large of membership that they could. And what they were doing is even though they were in markets that didn't make money or even lose money, they were making enough markets in other to kind of offset those. But this year and last year, their strategy began to change, and they said, "Hey, if we're not making money in that county or that zip code or whatever, we're going to offer plans there." And they had the right to do that. And so it basically boils down to profit. They said, we are not going to write plans where we cannot get enough members. So they pulled out. So that's how people lose Advantage plans. The companies have the right to do whatever they want year to year. And that's what I was saying on my opening. This is what makes them different from sup plans. Supplemental plans are lifetime. They cannot change anything but the premium. They can't pull the plan. They can't nothing. other than non-payment of premium. Here, the plans have the right year to year to say, hey, we're not going to write in that market anymore. It's not profitable. We're done. And they pull the plans, people lose their coverage and have to find something else. That's why. All right, let's keep going. Okay, if you move while on a sup plan, you take it with you, but do the premiums continue to be based on the zip code where you originally got it, or does it reprice based on where you move? Okay, now, it's usually going to be repriced where you move, okay, but exception would be New York and Florida. Both of those states are a little bit different, but everywhere else, if you relocate, they have the right to raise your rates, and I have seen instances where they actually lowered your rates. Now, I would tell you this. Let's say you move to an area that the rates are lower, so it's always good to check, but your company moves you, but they keep your rate the same. If you're healthy, then I would just apply for another MedSup plan in my new market. If you're unhealthy, then you'll be grateful you have that coverage and you just pay the premium. But again, they can go up or they can go down when you do a relocation. All right. And by the way, you all, I've been in this business 17 years. I've never ever that I know of have ever had a person cancel a MedSup plan because of a premium increase whenever they moved. I've never had it happen one time. So it's usually fairly insignificant is my point. All right, let's keep going. If folks lose their Advantage plan, do they have to answer the questions to qualify for the new Advantage plan when their original plan was canceled? No, not at all. No. In fact, know this. When it comes to Advantage plans, there's never underwriting at all. There used to be a couple things. We used to ask kidney failure, some things, but now any Medicare Advantage plan that's in your zip code, you can have that without underwriting. So when you lose it, you can go to another Advantage plan. No problem at all. Don't worry about underwriting. Folks, underwriting is only when you want that high quality Medicare supplemental plan. When you first go on Medicare, you don't have to have any underwriting anywhere in the country. But usually after 6 months of your B date, you have to medically qualify to get a supplemental plan. If I'm coming off an Advantage plan, I want to move to a supplemental plan. If I've been on my Advantage plan longer than a year, now I have to also go through medical underwriting to get a supplemental plan. So initially you don't have to, folks. But after 6 months of your B date or after 1 year on an Advantage plan, that's when underwriting comes into play. All right, what else? Okay, when we move from California to North Carolina, if I'm on an Advantage plan, can we sign up for a supplemental plan? Yes. When you move from California to North Carolina, what's going to happen, you're going to have what's called a GI right. GI stands for guaranteed issue. And so when you apply for a supplemental plan in North Carolina, as they talk about your coverage, whoever takes the application, there would be a spot to say, what kind of plan do you have and what are you coming off that plan? And so you will be able to get a supplemental plan without any underwriting. Now, I've got to keep this in mind. You can't just get any plan you want. It just depends on when you started Medicare. So if you started Medicare before 1/1 of 2020 and you moved from California to North Carolina, your guaranteed issue product would be an F plan. If you started Medicare after 1/1/2020, your guaranteed issue plan would be a G plan. If you wanted an N plan or something else, you'd have to medically qualify. If you're healthy, not a problem. If you're unhealthy, again, you're going to have an F or a G depending upon when you started Medicare. That's the way that works. So guaranteed issue right is not like pick anything you want. It's based upon your start date of Medicare. That's the way it works. All right, let's keep going. All righty, I'll be 65 in January. Me too. And plan to work till July, when my wife turns 65. I currently have good health insurance coverage and told I only need to sign up now for Medicare A. Is that correct? Okay, and that is correct. You are fine to wait until your wife turns, okay? Now, I would say this. It is great, and I recommend signing up for A as you've been advised. However, if you have an HSA, just know that you have to stop contributing to your HSA. Because once we've signed up for Medicare A, we can use our HSA money, we just can't continue to fund it, okay? And so again, if you don't have an HSA, I highly recommend everyone to go ahead and enroll in Medicare A if they're going to keep working. Now in that position, David, just so you know, as long as your employer, everything I said applies to this, as long as your employer has 20 employees on the payroll or more. Okay, 20 or more employees on the payroll or more, then you don't have to do anything with Medicare, A or B. You can do A as long as you don't have an HSA. But if you have 19 or fewer employees on a payroll, then you have to enroll into A and B because that small employer plan moves to the second payer position once you're eligible for Medicare. A lot of people don't realize that. Small employer, that's 19 employees on the payroll or less, you have to enroll in A and B at 65. And group plan, if you keep it, will pay second. Most people don't keep it. It's usually too expensive, and they'll just come off totally and just get a regular Med Sup plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. All right, hope that helps. And I have Florida State Retiree Group Insurance. Okay, good. As secondary to Medicare, will I be Federal Blue? Will I be qualified for SEP without underwriting if I move out of Florida and want a Medigap Plan G? Okay, so I think what you're saying to me is that you're on a Medicare Advantage plan. That's the Florida Blue PPO nationwide. Okay, I got you. So it's secondary to Medicare. But here's the thing: if what you're saying is right, Advantage plans are not secondary to Medicare. So I guess you must have some other kind of a secondary insurance that's not a Medicare Advantage plan. So that's what I'm going to assume. I have to, because I believe you know what you're talking about when you say secondary. Because just so everyone knows that's listening to me ramble on here, Medicare Advantage plans replace A and B. When someone has an Advantage plan, what happens is Medicare doesn't pay bills, doesn't pay providers. It gives a monthly fee to the Medicare Advantage company on your behalf. They don't pay bills on Medicare Advantage. They pay the Advantage company. But when we have original Medicare, as I think you have here, and you have this Federal Blue PPO nationwide coverage, it sounds like that's secondary to Medicare. It's not a supplemental plan because supplemental plans have to be A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, or N, okay? But you must have secondary, and this is some kind of retiree plan. So now you're asking me, will I be qualified for SEP without underwriting if I move out of Florida and want a Medigap Plan G? Alrighty, so you've lost employer coverage. I don't think so. Now, I could be wrong about that. I know what you're saying because I was thinking that the only time you had a guaranteed issue right when you lost a retiree plan is when it was involuntary loss. So involuntary loss, it would be a guaranteed issue right. But a voluntary loss, which is you, because you're saying you're going to move, I don't think you have an SEP for a Plan G. I do not think you do. Yeah. So, and anyways, I'm happy to chew on that more with you later. But let's go on, Daniel. I'm saying that's my answer as it sits. I think the difference is you have voluntary termination, and I don't think that's automatic. Okay. All right. How can I find out the amount of my 2026 monthly G cost compared to my 2025 payments? Well, your Plan G premium increase is not going to be known until 30 to 60 days before the anniversary of your policy. Okay, Larry, and so the point is, let's say your policy, you started in July, there's no way to know what your premium is going to be until maybe May or June of next year. So they don't put out what premium increases are going to be at this time of the year necessarily. Now, listen, if your policy is renewing in January, you're going to know right now. It's just coincidental that it's happening at this time of the year because it's, again, 30 to 60 days before the anniversary of your policy. So you're not going to be able to find out yet until that policy renewal comes up. And if you started in October, you're not going to find that out until August or September. All right? And so that's all I can tell you. Yeah, it's too early to tell that. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Is TRICARE considered a supplemental plan? Not really. I would say this, though. It kind of acts like that, but it's not supplemental because it's not one of the letters. It's not supplemental plan A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, or N. It's not those. But it is secondary to Medicare. And so, by the way, it is very, very good insurance, Carol. It is. It's really great because you have A and B, and then your TRICARE is going to fill in all the gaps. Now, I know they have some things max out of pocket. They also include a drug plan. Let me tell you, Carol, what many people that have TRICARE are doing. Not saying you should do this. I'm saying what many are doing. You can enroll, actually, in what is called an MA-only plan. That's a Medicare Advantage only plan. And the reason that a lot of people at TRICARE do that is because you're in a very unique situation. Okay, number one, you don't have to stay in it. You can come out of it anytime you want to, and go back to original Medicare A and B and TRICARE. But if you enroll in an MA only plan, that's a Medicare Advantage only, And that means now you have a private health insurance company that TRICARE will coordinate with for all your benefits. TRICARE will coordinate with A and B Medicare, or they'll coordinate with the Medicare Advantage plan, that managed care plan. And the reason that many TRICARE people do this is because when they do, they get a fairly sizable Part B reduction, because that Advantage plan being MA only, they are not going to cover your meds. You're going to still get your meds through your TRICARE insurance. But because the Advantage company doesn't have to spend any money on your meds, they now can give a credit to you, fairly substantial. Most of them are around $150, sometimes more. And they'll actually give you $150 a month towards your Part B premium. And so if you're on Social Security, that makes your Social Security share go up $150 a month. If you're not, that takes your Part B premium bill down $150 a month. So it is not a gimmick. It is really the real deal, these givebacks when it comes to MA-only plans. Plus, on the MA-only plan, you get benefits that TRICARE doesn't give you, which would be a gym membership, some kind of a dental allowance, hearing aids, and, over-the-counter cards, so you can take advantage of some of those perks. Now listen, I love supplemental plans, okay, but in your situation, you don't need a supplemental plan because you have TRICARE plus this option to be able to get on an MA-only plan and get all the benefits of that, okay? All right, and if you don't like it, you can always go back in a year. It's not permanent like a lot of people that take Advantage plans. If their health changes, it's permanent. They can't change after that, okay? So anyway, that's my advice. Let's keep going. I've been told that if a provider is not a Medicare provider, that they cannot take cash from a Medicare patient. Is that true? No. I've been told that if a provider is not a Medicare provider, so let me share this with you. If they're not a Medicare provider, what that means is they have opted out. And they have to let you know that they've opted out, okay? And Medicare is, of course, not going to cover anything that you would get at one of those providers. And they're not, of course, not going to bill Medicare. So this would be typical of like a concierge doc. Concierge doctors opt out. You pay them cash. There are a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists that just don't take Medicare. They're not in the system. They've opted out of that. And so again, you would just simply pay them cash for their services. Okay, so whoever told you that, I've never heard that, and I think that's totally wrong. Okay, yeah, there are providers that have opted out. Most don't. I think only 1% across the country actually opt out of Medicare, and that's psychiatrists and concierge doctors as a general rule. All right, let's keep going. I'm 76 and a half. My supplemental plan G is now costing me almost $500 a month. That's a lot. My only source of income is Social Security. I've never used my supplemental plan at all. My health is good. I had Blue Cross Blue Shield as secondary with my job until I turned 68. That is when I picked up the supplemental plan G. My home state is Texas. Can I see significant price reduction on plan N? Okay, well, you can. In fact, you could probably see significant reduction on plan G. Of course, now in Texas, you're going to have to go through underwriting. So, ma'am, what I would do, Alice, call us. You see the number there at the bottom of the screen. Just call in. We write tons and tons of business in Texas. Yeah, Dan, I want her to call the 800 number, okay? And then talk to an agent. And then now you are going to have to go through underwriting. So let's say you're in the midst of cancer treatment. We can't do that, okay? But as long as you have, generally good health, you can move to a G or move to an N. The difference in G and N in Texas is probably $40 a month. But you're paying too much right now for that G plan. You must have been in a smaller group, and those rates have just gone up. So you can get some relief. And I would tell you this, Daniel. What's her name again? What's her name? Okay, Alice. Let me tell you what I would do. If you're paying $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. Okay, what I would do, that if you cannot medically qualify to get off that plan, what you may want to do if cash flow is tight is find a good PPO Medicare Advantage plan. There's zero copay on it, and your max out of pocket probably maybe $4,000 or $5,000, and net effect that's still going to be good. Now you still got the issues. We got networks, and I'm not telling you how to do this, but if cash is really tight and you only have Social Security, I just think I would definitely look seriously at an Advantage plan. I would. Just find a PPO where your docs are covered and your hospitals are covered. Get that thing down to zero and just pay as you go. And then you may get a critical illness plan along with that, or a hospital indemnity plan. Those are very low cost. So I think you can get some relief, Alice. I do, and I feel for you. You're spending a lot of money for that plan if Social Security is your only income. So give us a call. We'll help you if we can, I promise. Let's go. All righty. Please explain AFLAC. AFLAC, of course, everyone knows the duck. That's just simply the insurance company. It's American General something. I forget what their acronym is. But yeah, AFLAC is just another MedSup provider, just like an Aetna would be, or a Mutual of Omaha, or Cigna HealthSpring, Medico. There's so many different companies out there today. Physicians Mutual, there's several of them. So AFLAC is just another insurance company that provides MedSup plans, I think, in most states in the country. And a lot of times they're very competitive. We have a lot of people with AFLAC very happy with them, and so could be a good option. All right, let's keep going. All right, do I need to do anything if I like my Plan D this year? Well, maybe not. I do hope that you've taken the time to make sure what the changes are going to be for 2026, because some of the Part D plans moved up $50 a month. Some of them dropped medications. Some of them re-tiered medications. So there's a lot going on. So as long as you saw your annual notice of change that the company sent you or should have sent you, saying this is what our plan is going to be in 2026, and you're still happy with that, you don't have to do anything. The plan automatically renews. But please do your due diligence. And if you want to be sure there's nothing better, go to Medicare.gov and enroll into a system in there. In that system, set up a username and password, and then you can look at all the plans that are in your zip code. That's the way to be doubly sure. But again, if you're happy with the changes, you know what they are, let it renew. Alrighty, my drug plan Cigna changed. My new premium would be $78, I believe is what they said. That's about right. I only take one drug, name brand Synthroid. What is a good drug plan for me that you suggest? And how many drugs are on the formulary? I'm currently paying around $25. Okay, well, in your particular area, I'm not sure what all plans are there. Most markets today have anywhere from about 8 to 12 different plans. So what you really need to do, Kathy, please go to Medicare.gov. And then I would create an account. That way you can go in there next year at the same time. Make sure your meds are updated, your pharmacy choices, and let it show you what plans are available. Now, what's going to happen, Medicare.gov knows what plan you're on now. So what they're going to do is they'll show you your present plan, and they'll show you what the annual cost for that plan will be in 2026. But you don't stop there. Go ahead. It'll give you the option to explore other plans. Look at everything else in the market and look at those annual costs are going to be. And so if there's another plan, which I think there is going to be a better plan for you, just take the plan that offers the lowest cost, including the annual premiums and everything, and enroll in that plan. It takes you literally 5 minutes to do an enrollment on that site. Once you've created the account and made a comparison, that may take you 10 or 15 minutes. But that's what you want to do. Please go verify. That's a big increase, and you probably are going to find a plan much better than that for next year. All right, let's keep going. An ambulance ride covered by Medicare or supplemental plan? Both. So once you have met your deductible, let's say you have a G plan or even an N plan, Medicare will cover ground ambulance at 80/20. So again, you've met your deductible, so Medicare pays 80% of the bill, and your supplemental plan, whether it's a G or an N, will pay the other 20%. Okay, so they're covered. And ground and air ambulances are also covered by Medicare. Okay? All right, anybody else? Okay, Dan, do we have anything? Or we... All right. Okay, if I have a drug plan for my husband's employer and a Medicare prescription drug plan through my retiree FEHB, is that allowed, or can I only have one? Okay. Okay, so if you are, so his employer, so I think what's going to happen there, I'm pretty sure the group plan is going to pay first, and then FEHB is going to be second. I could be wrong about that. And by the way, you can have more than one. Most people don't, for sure. But in your situation, I can see why. So what I would do if I were you is this, Elizabeth. Every time you go get a prescription, give them both cards. Let the pharmacy work that out. Give them your husband's employer-provided plan and give them your FHB card as well. But I do believe employers first and FEHB is going to be second, because anytime the group is 20 or more, employee payrolls 20 or more, that's the order of pay. Yeah, and if retired, it's different, but he's still working, so I think his group plan pays first. All right, let's keep going. All right, did you say Minnesota may be a birthday rule state soon? Yeah, yes. And, I've read about it. I don't think it's official yet. I know they were still working on the legislation. So I don't know if I think it may go into effect maybe in July. So again, I know there's things working right now in Minnesota over actually a lot of things going on in Minnesota with Medicare, but I'm pretty sure they are going to become, or at least are soon to vote on or enact the legislation that was already passed to become a birthday rule state. But again, it hasn't happened yet. I think some changes are going to happen January 1 and others, I think, July. Daniel, we need to look that up, make sure we're fluid on that answer. Okay, let's go. All right, change my Part D provider. How long does it take them to notify you that you're enrolled with them? They replied right away that they got my application. Well, the reason they do that is because that's just the way the system works. You're right, you get this notice that the application went through. So here's normally what happens. Typically within about 3 to 4 weeks, you should get your packet of information from them plus your new Part D card. Now remember this also, Deb. The plan you're on right now, you don't have to cancel. The new plan will automatically go into effect 1/1 of 2026 and will automatically kick out your existing plan. All right, but again, if you don't have it yet, no panic, really. Some of these could come as late as mid-December, but you'll hear from them for sure. If they acknowledge that enrollment, you'll get it. All right, let's keep going. Why is my Social Security lower this month? Did not get anything in the mail to explain. Well, if you just started Medicare, that would be one reason. That $185 premium would have come out of your Social Security check. That automatically has to happen. If you owe them any money, something back where maybe you're behind on something, then they could have made an adjustment for that. But usually when people they've been on Social Security and then they go on Medicare, and then their very first month they notice a reduction because that Part B premium is now being taken out of your Social Security check. All right, let's keep going. All right, when selecting your drug plan, should you include meds you get through Synthroid deliverers, GoodRx, etc.? Okay. Well, what I would do is this. I would put everything in for sure, because I think it's wise to see. You're going to notice this, that folks. And by the way, I like GoodRx and I like Cost Plus Drug Company and Single Care. I like all those things. Okay, so I encourage people to use coupons when the coupon price is better. But the reason I would go ahead and put them in the system is because some of these medications, folks, that are Tier 1 and Tier 2, they're zero premium. I had a lady today that took 7 medications. 7. 5 of the 7 were zero copay at a preferred pharmacy. So go ahead and put it in there. And again, if you can save money on it's cheaper versus running to the plan or GoodRx, it's fine. It hasn't hurt anything at all. And putting those in is not going to put you in some kind of a high dollar drug plan at all. So no, I definitely put them in for sure. Now Synthroid delivers. So I don't know. I know what Synthroid is. It's for your thyroid. It's the generic of that, of course, levothyroxine. So I would tell you, if I'm on Synthroid, I probably would definitely put on my plan, because once you've met your deductible, that Synthroid copay could be pretty reasonable. But if you can find a better price, you don't have to. I'd still put them all in. Now, what I wouldn't put in are medications that I only take maybe once every year or once every other year or something. I like people to put in the meds that they're actually taking to make sure we're going to be on the right plan. All right, and you can play with the system too and mess around with it and see if you don't like my suggestion. That's fine. All right, who's next? You stated that our MAGI is from 1040 line 11 plus 2. That's correct. Line 11 states that is my AGI. Does just the addition of 2A into 11 make it your? Yes, it does. And as you've also said, 2A is often 0 and mine is 0. That's right. Folks, line 2A is tax exempt interest. And the only people that have anything on line 2A are those that invest in municipal bonds or U.S. territorial bonds, which are funding ways people, bonds for Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa. All right, so 2A is when we're earning interest on municipal bonds or territorial bonds. We don't pay federal income taxes, but we still have to record that on line 2A. That's why most people have zero. So yes, line 11 by itself is what they're going to look at now, because you have nothing on 2A to determine that modified adjusted gross income. Now remember, this year they're looking at 2023. Next year they'll look at 2024. Okay. Great question. Thank you, sir. Let's keep going. Yeah, I'm an insulin-dependent diabetic and have been on Advantage plan for 2 years. Due to my illness, can I qualify for a supplemental plan? I'm 73 and in good condition otherwise. Okay, so here's the way that works. Insulin-dependent diabetics can qualify for Medicare supplemental plans, provided that you're not taking too much daily insulin based upon the carrier. Most carriers, you're fine up to 50 units a day. Some may take a little bit more than that, but it's around that mark. So if you're below 50 units a day of insulin, then you're able to qualify taking insulin. However, if you're an insulin diabetic, they're also going to ask you, have you had any diabetic neuropathy or a retinopathy or a diabetic coma? If so, you'll be declined. Also, some companies are fine with insulin, but they may ask you how many blood pressure medications are you taking. So if it's usually 3 or more, probably will be declined. So just by what you've asked the question to me is, could you qualify? And the answer is possibly. Possibly, okay? Yeah, just because you're insulin does not mean you'll be denied at all, okay? All right, so go for it. Okay, Daniel, I'm going to keep going. I don't want to stop, but I got to sit down, okay? My back is killing me. I usually get this way, folks, into this thing about an hour and 15 minutes, but I have a terrible back, and I'm going to sit down. Hang on. Oh. Okay, I'm back. Oh, wow. Okay, I know why you always lobby for supplemental for everyone, but not what is best for any particular individual. And I know why you always lobby for supplemental for everyone, not for what is best for any particular individual. I lobby for supplemental plans when people can afford them, because I know that if people go through serious health problems, they're going to be very grateful that they had a supplemental plan. Okay, so that's why. So, but again, Advantage plans. Let me say, supplemental plans are not affordable for all people. And my view is you got to live within your means. So if a supplemental plan does not fit the budget, then get an Advantage plan. Because folks, listen, it's not like Advantage plans are bad insurance. I don't believe that. I don't. I think they're fine insurance, but they just have some issues that come up that are troublesome. Networks, pre-authorizations, policies can be canceled, all that, no portability. So those issues are bothersome to people, okay? And so when we pay a premium for a supplemental plan, we're getting something for it. But again, I'm not anti-Advantage, so I hope everyone knows that. I just want to make sure you understand your options. And frankly, folks, the reason so many agents push Advantage plans today is because we get paid twice the commission. I promise you, we make twice as much money when you enroll in an Advantage plan versus a supplemental plan. But I can't pillow my head with a good conscience pushing a plan so that I can make more money. That's not right. That's wrong. I need to educate you on your options, then you decide what's best for you, because you got to live with that decision. I got to live with my conscience, and I want to make sure that I do what's right by people. And that's why we talk about supplemental plans. And then, some people think we beat up on Advantage. That's not my goal. Advantage plans are fine insurance. You just got to live with the consequences of that. That's all, because there are some negatives. There's other positives. But if you can't afford a supplemental plan, get an Advantage plan. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, I plan to work. It's a 67 or more, 65 now. I've been spouse, credible insurance, prescription drug, good. Taking A now causing me to underwrite for Plan G later. No. Let me tell you why, folks. This is important. The period of time where you will never have underwriting is once you start your Medicare B. Okay, so right now with A only, you don't have B, but once you start B, then the clock begins to tick. So right now, since you have A only, it's no problem. There's no penalties, no issues. But let's say your wife works 2 more years, and now it's time to go on Medicare. Then you're going to start your Medicare B. And then from that date, now the clock is ticking. We can apply for a Medicare supplemental plan 3 to 6 months prior to our B date, or we can apply 6 months after the B date. So my birthday is January. I turn 65 this coming January, and I'm going to go on Medicare. And so my window to apply for a Medigap policy, I live in the state of Missouri, is the last 6 months I could apply. Now, my supplemental plan is not going to go to effect until my Medicare A and B goes into effect. That's January 1. But let's say I didn't take a supplemental plan by January 1, I still have 6 more months. And those 6 months include my birth month. So all of January, February, March, April, May, June. So all the way up until June 30th, I could apply for a Medigap policy, no underwriting, for an effective date to begin July 1, 2027. But after that date, now my 6-month window is gone, closed, and now to get a supplemental plan, I have to medically qualify. So that's why we tell people, if you're on a good group plan, you're going to keep working, or your spouse is, and you like the plan, take A only. Don't take anything if you have an HSA, but if you don't have an HSA, take A only, pick up B at a later date, and there'll be no problems or penalties for you whatsoever. Okay? Next. I'm 62, live in Oklahoma, was put on SSDI, good. 24 months up this coming July. So I guess you're saying this July 2026. Okay, good. I was told Oklahoma only allows a Plan A as a supplemental plan under 65. My wife is 65 plus and has a G plan. Okay. And by the way, that could be very true. The majority of states do not offer supplemental plans at all. That is the federal law. Federal law says if you're coming into Medicare under 65, the insurance companies in that state do not have to write Medigap policies. They don't have to make them available. Now, some states make that mandate. Others will do just what you're seeing in Oklahoma. They have to make it available, but it's only a Plan A. So let me tell you what I would do. I would not, personally for me, wouldn't do it. I'd go ahead and take an Advantage plan, and then what's going to happen is this. When you hit 65, which is going to be here in 3 years, then you'll be able to pick up that supplemental plan G or N, whatever you want at that time, with no underwriting. You'll have a second opportunity. This coming July, you have your initial enrollment period. But at 65, you'll have your IEP2, and then you can get the supplemental plan. So I wouldn't want, personally, a Medigap A. I wouldn't do it. I would go ahead and do a Medicare Advantage plan for sure. All right, next. 10 more minutes, folks. I love being with you, but I usually wear out about 6:30. Okay, worked with Chaffin DeVera. Good. Chaffin's a great lady. A couple days ago, was on UCare, Minnesota, going away in 2026. She was great to work with. Was able to answer questions. I asked, got a Medicap plan. She's very happy. All right, that's good. Yeah, Chaffin is a sweet, sweet lady and does a great job for her company, and I'm glad you had a good experience. Daniel, we need to let Chaffin know that, okay? All right, my current ARP UHC Plan G covers excess charges are legally barred in Pennsylvania. True. Does that mean the Plan G premium automatically excludes the cost of coverage? No, it does not. No, Plan G, no matter where it is going to cover excess charges. So if you live in Pennsylvania, it is true that the physicians in Pennsylvania cannot charge excess, and that happens in 8 total states. But there's 42 states where excess is allowable. So if you went to one of those states and had excess, then your G plan will cover that. But again, if you think you're forever going to stay in Pennsylvania, providers, we know they can't charge excess, so you may want to just get an in-plan. But if you went out of state, had an in-plan, and had excess, that would come out of your pocket. All right, and I think either way is fine. It would be fine to move to an in-plan in Pennsylvania, knowing excess cannot be charged there. All right, next. 73, I want to change for my teacher retirement. I may plan to either Plan G or N. If I choose G, would I be able to change in the future to N with the same company without underwriting? Well, only if you were in a birthday rule state, Susan, where they allowed like-to-like switching or like-to-less with no underwriting. Okay, that'd be the only way you can do that. Or if you lived in New York, Connecticut, or Massachusetts, you could. Everywhere else, to make that move from G to N, you're going to have to go through underwriting. So birthday rule states, you would not. Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, you would not. Okay? That's the way it works. For your initial enrollment of 65 for a Medigap plan, do you have to answer question for underwriting? No. You mentioned for Advantage plans, never underwriting, and there is never underwriting when you first go on Medicare. That could be at 65 or it could be at 69. It's that B date. Remember, 3 to 6 months before B and then 6 months after B, you're in the window where there's no underwriting whatsoever. The insurance company cannot ask health questions, will not ask health questions, and they also have to cover your pre-existing conditions. All right? I wish someone had told us that Aetna would become the primary if we chose it as our Advantage plan. They have messed everything and are denying care that would have been approved in Medicare plan was number one. I understand that. That's really, really sad. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. A lot of agents that are in the business either are untrained or not honest. Yeah, because when you go on Advantage plan, Medicare A and B is out of the picture totally, folks. They take that monthly amount and pay it to the Advantage company. They have no say-so, nothing. They're just funding Advantage plans. So, yeah. And you're right about that. There are plenty of services that Medicare would cover that Advantage plans often delay or deny. I've seen it time and time again in my 17 years in this business. It's sad, but it happens. They're not supposed to. Anything Medicovers are supposed to cover, but it doesn't work that way in the real world. Okay, here we go. I travel full-time and don't have a residence in the U.S., but I plan to buy supplemental plan. When I'm in the U.S., I stay in hotels. My Social Security check will go to a mail service in Florida. Issues. Okay. Well, what I would do if I were you, you probably have some kind of a physical address at your mail service. And then what I would do is use that physical address as your address. And if you call, we'd be happy to help you. That's really about all you can do. But we can't use a P.O. box, but we can use a physical address. And I know a lot of these mail services, actually offer that. So that's all you can do. It's fine. You can get a supplemental plan, just have to use that address, non-P.O. box. Great question, by the way. All right, my wife on Medicare has never had drug insurance. She's now 72, taking minimal scripts. What's the downside by not having drug insurance? Well, the downside, there's two things. One of them is penalties. Now, again, the penalties are not the biggest esse but again, I don't know how long she's been on Medicare. Let's say she started at 65. And so she's now been off for, has not had a drug plan for 7 years. And so that's 84 months. And so basically the way to look at it is, let's just call it 7 years. It's going to be 7 times about $4. So she's going to have a penalty now of about $28 to $30 a month for life. So if she picks up a drug plan, she's going to be penalized. Now, if she worked till she was 67 or 68, it wouldn't be that much. But you basically look at it this way, folks. For every year you go without a drug plan when you should have had one. Now, if you have work plan, union plan, TRICARE, VA, you don't need one. But if I should have had one and I don't have one, then the way to look at it, it is about $4 a year penalty, and you pay that penalty per month. So 1 year without, whatever drug plan you're on, they're going to add $4 a month to it. Go without 2 years, $8 a month penalty for life. So that's an issue. So if I were you, I'd stop the bleeding. I'd get on a plan. And for this reason primarily. Because if something happened to your wife, Bruce, and she needed an expensive medication, and I promise you, I have people regularly that need medications that are $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. A month. Do they pay it? If they have a Part D plan, no. As long as that medication is in formulary, then they have a cap on out-of-pocket spending on Medicare Part D plans. And this year it's $2,000. It bumped to $2,100 next year. So you could be on a medication that literally costs $30,000 a month, and they're out there. And that's $360,000 a year, and you will pay $2,100 the whole year. That's why you get a drug plan. Yes, you're penalized, but the biggest risk is if your wife needed something, let's say, and again, you may never do this, but I'm saying let's say she decides she wants to take self-administered chemotherapy pills that retail for probably $7,000 to $10,000 a month. Okay, if you don't have a plan, you're going to pay for that out of pocket. If not, if you're on Medicare Part D plan, you're going to spend $2,100 for the whole year. That's why you get a drug plan. I think everyone should. And Bruce, you can find a lot of plans that are very low cost. The issue is now she's going to have a penalty. But those penalties are going to keep adding up and adding up. So I would get on one for 2026. You have up until December 7th to add a plan. And I would encourage you to do it. Medicare.gov is the place to go. Okay, Daniel, let's keep going. Let's take one more question. Oh, okay. I guess we're done. I'm fine with that too. Okay, folks, I'm worn out. My back's killing me. Listen, thanks so much. And if there's anything we can do, reach out to us. Our office is open 7 to 7, Monday to Thursday, 7 to 6 on Friday. That's Central Time, of course. And we will help you with really anything Medicare. Be delighted to serve as your broker. And remember, folks, no matter who you use, the price is always the same. And when you use an agent, there's no cost to you at all, no matter who you use. We're paid by the insurance companies. So we'd be delighted to serve as we could as your Medicare broker. And then we'll see you next Monday night, 5 p.m. Central Time, and we'll tackle this again. Thanks so much. See ya.